Dylan, Shohei Ohtani's return to a two-way role is not going seamlessly. What was the toughest two-way role you've had to deal with in your life?
Maybe right now, writer and podcaster.
Which one do you think you're better at?
I don't know. You listen to some people that email me. I'm good at neither. So, hey, at least Ohtani's good at pitching.
No, sounds about right. You're 0 for 2 in those roles, and yeah, Ohtani's got some issues he's working through that we're going to dive into on this latest episode of Dodgers Post. All right, he's a bad podcaster and bad writer, Dylan Hernandez, our baseball columnist at the California.
Hell of an introduction there.
I'm Jack Harris, California Post Dodger beat writer. I don't know. I was trying to come up with something witty. Guess I'm not good at doing that on the spot. But Dylan, the good news here, the Dodgers have won 2 games in a row, including we're recording on a Monday night. I'm in Houston, where they just put 8 runs on the board, their best offensive game in a couple weeks. It seems like the concerns, or at least the team's argument that, you know, what they had been going through the last few weeks was just a normal slump that the teams deal with during the course of a year. There was a clubhouse-wide sickness that they were dealing with. All that seems to have normalized a little bit with the way they swung the bats the last couple nights. The one guy who's not swinging his bat well, though, is Shohei Ohtani, who is 0 for his last 17. He doesn't have a hit in his last 5 games. He came out to take batting practice early today and is not going to hit tomorrow, which is kind of the big news that came out of tonight's game. Dave Roberts said initially that Ohtani was going to play both ways in Tuesday's game against the Astros. Now he will just pitch. So start here. How do you kind of feel about the Dodgers offense as they're coming out of this slump, even without Ohtani hitting? And how do you feel about, you know, just the way that Ohtani's season has started here, where obviously he was named pitcher of the month today on the mound. He's been excellent. But as a hitter, like, this is easily the worst stretch that we've seen him endure in his time with the Dodgers. And you know, one of the worst stretches he's gone through really since he took off with the Angels, you know, 6 years ago now.
Well, let's kind of start with the team, right? I mean, I like the fact that Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Kyle Tucker, guys that are kind of supposed to carry the offense, all had multi-hit games today, right? So that's the good part. You know, with Ohtani,
even some home runs.
Yeah, you know, and with Ohtani, though, I do think we've kind of gotten to the stage of, you know, I go back to his first season, right, where they kind of walked him intentionally a couple times, and, you know, Mookie Betts, who was right behind him, made the opposition pay. Now it just kind of seems, I think from the onset of the season, it's just been, you know what, we're just not going to pitch to this guy. This is the one guy we're not going to let beat us, right? And look, like today, he got on base a couple times via walk and scored a couple of runs. You know, as long as he's getting on base, I kind of don't think it's that huge of a problem. You know, because again, like, as long as the guys behind him do what they're supposed to do. Now, you know, how does he feel about this? I don't know. You know, I mean, I go back to, right, I mean, when I asked Dave Roberts about, you know, comparing them to Bonds and stuff, and right, Roberts kind of talked about, no, Ohtani loves to swing the bat, right? He would go crazy if he got walked like 200 times the way Barry Bonds did. And I think that that's kind of the challenge within himself right now. You know, that said, I do think kind of coming into this year, and, you know, we saw this in Japan a lot more from Ohtani when he was still kind of at a developmental stage of his career, where there were certain seasons where clearly there was an emphasis on the pitching, and he would make these huge strides pitching, you know, and then in the next season, it's like, okay, well, now, like, I need to improve my hitting. And so we would see huge growth on the hitting side, not so much on the pitching side. And it kind of alternated years like that. You know, obviously, since he's come here, first few years, obviously there were some injuries, and then kind of he did a two-way thing for a bit with the Angels there, you know, and then the last 2 years with the Dodgers, obviously he didn't kind of shoulder kind of the full-time pitching load. But like, I think we've talked about, I think from the beginning, you know, of this program, since we started taping it, I mean, clearly he's kind of come into this season with the emphasis on pitching. And you know what, if he's taking his walks and getting on base and kind of sit right, and again, there's no reason the guys behind him shouldn't be able to capitalize off that and turn that into run production, right? I mean, if, you know, again, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, Kyle Tucker, those are the guys, right? Max Muncy, those are the guys behind him right now. And so, Again, I just think if those guys do their job, if he's taking his walks, and then eventually they're going to have to pitch to him at some point if the guys behind them keep making him pay, right? And if all those times he's getting on base, if it's resulting in runs, right? And we've seen him run a little bit more on the right, steal some bases, be dangerous on the base pass. I'm guessing that they'll start pitching to him a little bit more and he'll start hitting.
Let me soft launch a theory that I've had or been thinking about. And I'm not sure that I completely believe this myself, but is just kind of watching these last couple weeks and watching the difficulty with which Ohtani has, the difficulty he's had finding his swing. And I think that's kind of the thing that sticks out to me right now. So we've seen him go through stretches, 3 or 4 or 5 bad games before, and then he'll find an adjustment. He'll make a tweak in the cage. Usually it has something to do with his stance, his alignment, as he puts it, and then he'll get going. And that's what seemed to be happening at the end of last week's homestand. He made a little tweak. He had like a 3-hit game. The one day I was trying to write a story about how he looked mortal at the plate. It was like the most Ohtani thing ever. You try to like key in on, hey, he's not swinging the bat very well right now, and then he breaks out. And then since then, he's gone back to struggling again. And the one thing he said is that now that he's back in a two-way role, the difficulty is that when his swing gets off, it takes longer, it is harder to get it right because he's got so much more going on. I mean, today in Houston, this was a really good example to me of what's so difficult about this challenge he's taking on this year as a two-way player. He comes out there early to take batting practice on the field, which is a really rare thing. He only does that when he's struggling. And he didn't just go and take batting practice. He took 55 swings. He was in the cage for like half an hour, trying a bunch of different things, trying to go the other way. By like his last round was unbelievable. He hit one to the second deck. He hit one to the train tracks and at Daikin Park in Houston. But that was a long time to be out there. 30 minutes later, after he goes into the clubhouse, he comes back out in his jersey with his glove to go through a bullpen session to get ready for his start tomorrow night. This is really difficult what he's doing. And Dave Roberts today even said, did I think that there were going to be sacrifices in his offensive production, coming into the season as he went back to a full-time two-way role? Honestly, no, right? Because I think everybody with the Dodgers had just kind of, maybe not taken for granted, but trusted him and his work and his talent so much that maybe there were going to be some challenges this year, but I don't think anybody expected him to be batting. What's he batting right now? 240 with an OPS just over 800. Yeah, he's still getting on base, but this takes me back to the thing I want to soft launch. Are we sure that this is the right path for the Dodgers to be going down this year? Because when I look at it, sure, if he's getting on base and the guys behind him are hitting, this probably all ends up being fine and he can be a two-way player. And even if he's not a 50 home run guy with 1,000 OPS this year, he's going to be really good on the mound and the Dodgers lineup will be good and all that could be fine. But to me, what these last couple weeks have shown is that what the Dodgers need out of Shohei Ohtani is to be a profound difference maker at the top of the lineup. Because as this season goes on, you don't know how some of the older players are going to hold up. You don't know if there's going to be injuries. We don't know how Mookie Betts is going to look when he comes back. We don't know if Kyle Tucker is going to get back to being an all-star caliber level player, even though maybe there's been some signs of that. But like when Ohtani's really good offensively, they are not going to have a bad lineup, is kind of my belief. And if he's not great offensively, if he's going through, like if what we've seen the last couple weeks is kind of closer to what we see the rest of the year, I think it significantly changes how dangerous they are at the plate. And for as good as he's been as a pitcher, and he's been unbelievable, he's done in this first month exactly what he would need to make like winning a Cy Young.
Month. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Like he's doing everything he needs to make winning a Cy Young a reality. But the Dodgers have 4 other Cy Young candidates, 3 other Cy Young candidates. And even if one of those guys or 2 of those guys blow out with injuries, they can go out and add another starting pitcher at some point later this season. So I just look at this and my takeaway from this opening month is his bat is significantly more important to the team's success than his arm, in my view. And if that's the case, and if he continues to struggle to like get his swing right while putting as much emphasis he is on the pitching side, again, I'm not advocating to say, don't let him pitch whatever. Like, this is soft launching here. But I'm just kind of sitting here wondering to myself, as cool as it is to watch him go out there and dominate on the mound and do both things, and I think it's better for baseball and all that he does that. I'm just wondering, are we sure that the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani himself are going down the path that makes the most sense for this year's team to win another World Series?
Okay, I'm going to say what the Japanese reporters and I talk about when you guys are out of earshot, which is, man, you guys are so practical and you can't dream, right? Like
you guys in the American press.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, when you're so bogged down on the practicality of it, like, I mean, to be honest, I guess I don't. I mean, look, this is the truth, right? I get paid the same whether the team wins or not, right? I'm not up for like free agency or anything. At least as far as I know, maybe our publishers have different ideas, but so look, I don't know. I think that there's just kind of value in just kind of running him out there and seeing what happens, right?
What if he gets hurt? That's the other thing. What if he gets hurt as a pitcher?
Well, then like he went down in flames. It's beautiful.
But
I guess let me play for free.
Do you agree with the premise that, like, as it pertains to the success of the 2026 Dodgers, Ohtani being an elite hitter is more important than him being an elite pitcher?
Not necessarily. No, because I think that there's value right now in the 6-man rotation thing that they have going on right now, right? I mean, Roberts has been, right, especially now with Diaz kind of down. In the bullpen, right? Maybe has lost the ability to shorten the game as much as they would have been otherwise. The fact that they're going 6, you mix in like the off day there. These guys are pitching kind of once a week. I do think Roberts has been pushing his starting pitchers probably a little bit more than he would have, he would otherwise if it was like a 5-man rotation. So I think that there's kind of value in that. And look, like if he's the best pitcher in baseball, which he has been up to this point, I think that I don't know. I think it's kind of a wash, honestly. Again, like I think, there's value there as a pitcher, and as long as he's getting on base. I mean, look, this is an expensive lineup.
Yeah, see that. I guess that part I just don't agree with. Like, I think he needs to be providing power. I think the other idea I had today is like I'm wondering if they maybe need to move him down in the order, because I think part of the problem is there's so many times he's coming up and no one's on base, which is making it. I think that's the thing that's making it easier to pitch around him. And like, look, now if Freddie Freeman really catches fire or somebody right behind him really catches fire, then maybe that dynamic changes. But there's just too many times like he comes up, no one's on, they pitch around him, he gets over aggressive, and then he ends up just making a too easy of an out that then kind of has a cascading effect on everybody else, which again is why it's like so important. Because like when he's not going at the top, then it just puts a little extra pressure on everybody else. And like going back to what we talked about coming into the season, everybody else just might not be quite as good as they have been in the last couple of years, right? And if Kyle Tucker,
I get that. I also again think though, right? You look at his track record; he is traditionally kind of a slower starter. Let's see, if we get to the end of May and he's still not hitting, then let's kind of revisit it then. I mean, at this point, I'm still kind of willing to extend him the benefit of the doubt and give him, some guys like, look, like it's going to happen, right? Messi went through periods where he didn't score goals. And what are you going to do? Just like bench the guy? Like, no, like he's going to be fine, right? And
it depends how practical you are.
Like just let, and again, I still think that there's,
I mean, if you had Suarez on the bench right behind Messi in the way the Dodgers have, 2 or 3 other like all-star caliber pitchers, and like maybe.
Yeah, but I think like today, again, he contributed. He scored 2 runs, right? He scored the first run of the game. Like there's value in him just getting, right? Because again, I mean, you brought up the Suarez Messi thing. I mean, Suarez played with Messi, right? Messi didn't have to score. He had Neymar and Suarez to the side of him, and like even without scoring directly, like he could impact the game. And I feel like Ohtani, again, I think there are times. Look, I don't, like Ohtani in San Francisco is bad, right? Because in that stretch, he looked like an automatic out. I do think that since then, you don't want it. Look, if you're an opposing pitcher, you don't want to just be throwing one down.
0 for 17.
Yeah, no, you're right. But like, look, but he's still getting on base. He's scoring runs. He scored.
He did tonight. He has not been even that part. But I'll agree with you. This is early again. I just throwing it out there. It's where my mind.
Like, here's the thing. Like, I mean, I think the rest of the season will be because the Dodgers are going to be playing baseball in October, right? We can agree with that. No matter what happens, they're going to be playing in October, and like, I don't know. To me, this is like one of the few things that's actually keeping this regular season interesting. Because if not, like, we can just shut it off and like, okay, you tell everybody like, hey, read us again, start watching this podcast again in October. This is something that is kind of interesting, and we're seeing now the the realities of age kind of starting to come in, right? I mean, we're calling him 31, and he is 31, but he's going to be 32 this summer, right? So this is
2 months from tomorrow.
Yeah, he's not as young as he used to be, right? And so, we're kind of seeing it, but this has been kind of Ohtani's career, is him kind of like butting heads with kind of reality and trying to extend those boundaries. And I kind of want to see how far he can kind of push this thing. I do want to see, again, like he had the first 50-50 season in baseball history, right? And like, let's see now if he can be the best pitcher in baseball, right? Because that was the vision. Keep in mind, when the Dodgers were trying to sign him out of high school, that was the vision that they told him, was like, you're going to come here to be the best pitcher in the world. And I do think that probably that part of him, right, that dream is still kind of alive in him, obviously in some form. And I think that that's why he's kind of pushing on the mound as much as he is right now. And I'm kind of curious to see if he can do it. So, to be honest, I don't care if the team wins or loses. I want to see him try to do this.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And to kind of argue against my own point, like you said, the Dodgers are going to get to the postseason just fine, kind of regardless of what they do with him, as long as he's making impact somewhere, which he's going to do. So yeah, I'm not advocating, I guess, for this quite yet, but it is the transition back to this, I think, has been harder than everybody thought it was going to be. And if that remains to be the case, like, I don't think that they will keep on this path forever, I guess is my point. Now, what
the other thing though, one thing, I don't know if just our viewers, you yourself, right, got to see the Samurai Japan documentary they put on Netflix.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
That was a disaster for them, obviously, right? They started filming this thing thinking they were going to win the whole thing, and they get bounced. But, I do think we kind of, and it's almost kind of funny because, like, I almost kind of forgot that, I mean, I was there in Miami, but, like, I almost, like, forgot that happened. But one thing that I did find kind of interesting when you go kind of behind the scenes is, again, just how much that tournament means to non-American players, right? Specifically, in this case, the Japanese guys. And you look at, Yamamoto, you look at Ohtani and the way they approach this thing. I do kind of wonder a little bit, just like what was kind of the emotional toll of that, right? Not to mention the physical toll. I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, Yusei Kikuchi was already throwing like high 90s at that point, right? I mean, Yamamoto was already throwing hard. Ohtani even, right? He had built himself up as a pitcher, even though he didn't pitch in that tournament up to like a certain point. So I do kind of wonder, is there I don't know if it's like, I don't like that to use the term like hangover, because it sounds like it's just entirely like psychological, but I do kind of wonder, again, preparing for this longer year, what was kind of the impact of that. And, we see, Yamamoto kind of by his standards right now, right? He hasn't been as good maybe as we were expecting him to be at this point. That said, his longtime trainer, Osamu Yada, kind of talked about, no, we don't worry, we prepared for this thing. He trained really hard in November and December with the whole purpose of actually peaking in October, right? So, don't worry too much if you see him struggling April, May, that's going to happen. But this is right by the end of the summer, he's going to be kind of ramping up. And again, I kind of wonder if Ohtani might be in a similar boat then.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll watch. We'll see. I'm just saying. I wouldn't. If I was running the Dodgers, I wouldn't love what I'm seeing right now, or I'd at least be kind of considering what are my moves.
You seem like that vice principal that nobody likes, that everybody's like, right? You're just waiting for some kid to screw up so you can just be like, oh, I told you so.
Huh? Look, I mean, I like it.
Dream Killer Jack.
It is great that he is pitching great. I think it's very exciting, and it would be awesome for the sport if he was also putting up MVP caliber numbers as a hitter. This could all be rendered moot in a week if he goes out and hits like 6 home runs in the next 6 days, which is very possible. So we'll see. Like I said, just Just throwing something out there. All right. Other topics from this last week. You you demoted Roki Sasaki today to AAA, or advocated for it.
Advocated for
When
it.
Blake
It's very
Snell-
important distinction there. I don't think they're going to do it, right? I do think that there's kind of too much kind of political, economic fallout from this thing.
Okay, let me raise one counterpoint. He went 6 innings and gave up 3 runs the other day. Like, progress? No.
I mean, yeah, if you want to, okay, like if the point is, I mean, but it's like to what end, right? Do you want him to be a guy with like a mid-4 ERA? Like, sure, like, okay, keep running him out there. Let him kind of make an adjustment on a week-to-week basis. Okay, like what form of smoke and mirrors am I going to use to just kind of like trick people this week? But that's not Roki Sasaki, right? I mean, and maybe, and here's the thing, maybe the Roki Sasaki of, right, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe that guy's gone for all we know, right? Never to come back again. And you see sometimes athletes just kind of, certain guys just peak young. They're never quite the same after that. It happens, right? That said, if I'm him, I'm trying to kind of recapture that. I think that the Dodgers, right, when they signed him, that was kind of the whole point. They sacrificed 2 entire international signing classes basically to just make sure that they had the resources to sign him whenever he came out. Right. I don't think he should be kind of settling for mediocrity. And again, when I'm looking at this situation, right, it's not so much like, oh, like does Sheehan, right, Emmett Sheehan, I'm guessing it's going to come down between those 2 guys. I just don't see how you demote Robleski at this point. It's not so much like, oh, Sheehan deserves to stay more. To me, this is kind of more, I mean, again, right, the comparison that I use with the Hae-Sung Kim thing, on opening day, where they were kind of like, okay, yeah, we're sending him down, but we're sending him down because we want him playing every day in the minor leagues rather than being a platoon player up here. And I do think that they kind of created this one runway for Kim to have the success that he's having right now. And I think with Sasaki, everything's still.
They wanted him to make mechanical changes
Right.
in an environment where he could fail and grow.
And again, and that's kind of a similar thing here, right? It's all with Sasaki, a lot of it just kind of comes down to the fastball. And he himself kind of talked about that, the new splitter, I guess, that he threw didn't get a ton of swings and misses. And he's like, well, ultimately it's something that plays off the fastball. And so if the fastball doesn't get better, that's kind of moot, right? And so, so far to me, it's just kind of been like he's kind of used these kind of get me over off speed pitches, whether it be the slider earlier, now it's kind of that splitter. And to me, that's just kind of not him, right? He's got to go back to, being a fastball first guy, getting ahead in counts with that, and then kind of using that devastating forkball to put guys away. And now, I'm sure, right, his people, don't want to stop his clock, so that he can hit free agency at a certain point. There are a bunch of other kind of considerations. Obviously, he remains a very popular player. They sell, right? I'm guessing, his jersey probably sells pretty well. They already had a bobblehead night for the guy there, right? I mean, I think that the Dodgers are probably conscientious to some degree of what will happen if we send this guy down. But I do think that in the end, this is baseball, right? And this is right, and how much money he's going to make, how much money the team's going to make, whatever's going to happen, all will be enhanced if he's better at baseball. And I just think that they have to kind of go back to making this a baseball decision. And look, like early on, I praised them for keeping him up and kind of giving him that rope, because I do think that there was kind of this unspoken, right? It would have been illegal for them to make any promises, but assuming no promises like that were made, I do think that it was in the spirit of the agreement, right? Here's a guy that all 30 teams would have wanted, because they're paying him nothing. And he chose the Dodgers, and I do feel that they owed him, a certain amount of leash, but he himself is pretty much saying, like, I don't know where this is going. I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't know what's wrong. Well, give him some time then to help figure this out.
Yeah, I think I'm fascinated to see how they're going to handle this when Blake Snell.
Well, you know what's going to happen. They're going to send down Sheehan or IL him, or move him to the.
And I guess that would be the thing. Like he's dealing with his own issues that could maybe use a bit of a reset. His velocity is not ticked up. I mean, honestly, I think the idea was like you could just put Robleski back in the bullpen, but he's pitching too well to do that right now.
Yeah, you can't. I hate that. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah, and I think right, at least
Ultimately, sports are about results, and I don't know how that also play. I mean, look, and you talk about like run support. I know they scored a bunch of runs for Yamamoto today, but I can see why, like Robleski, right? They score when the guy pitch because he keeps everybody engaged, right? He pitches to contact, it's easier.
no,
Yamamoto's
no
practicing.
strikeouts the other day. 18
Yeah.
outs, all 8 in the field.
Yeah, Yamamoto really likes to milk that pitch clock, right? And and he misses so many bats that you kind of wind up standing around a little bit. And this guy's going to kind of keep you going, right? And the fact that he's actually putting up those numbers, I mean, you can sit here and talk about, oh, like we don't think he can do it, but I mean, he's doing it, right? And the thing is with Sasaki and this guy, look, I mean, you could say that Robleski's getting lucky right now, but he's gotten lucky, what, 5 times now? Right?
Yeah.
If that is luck, I mean, Roki's
And,
hasn't gotten lucky once.
yeah, and I think the other thing is even more than the results, like he's doing it in the way that organizationally the Dodgers preach. Attack the zone, trust your stuff, be efficient. And yeah, he's not going to, Robleski's not going to have a .5 ERA the rest of the season like he's had since moving into the rotation. And there's going to be starts where like he's going to give up 10 hits and 6 runs because, he does like when you throw that many pitches over the plate, you're increasing.
Is he? Is that going to happen?
I would bet on it. Now I
don't know, man. Right now he looks like he might beat out Ohtani for that Cy Young award.
I did have somebody. I had a conversation with somebody at the ballpark today who pointed out, like, are we sure that Ohtani deserved Pitcher of the Month over Justin Robleski? Like he went 5-0 with a sub-1 ERA in the rotation. Now this is all a good problem for the Dodgers to have, but it is, kind of similar to like when Mookie Betts comes back and they're going to have to make a decision between Ha-Seong Kim and Alex Freeland, who had a really nice night tonight and has been somewhat better the last couple weeks. And then like a Santiago Espinal, like over the course of the season, this is going to become a recurring thing because like then Kike Hernandez is going to come back at some point, and Tommy Edman, I think, is going to come back at some point. His timeline keeps kind of getting delayed, but like they're going to have some interesting decisions to make, and that's why these first couple. Like, I'm just kind of curious to see how they approach it, what they value, how they handle it, and how they kind of, again, do that in a way that also keeps,
This one's different, though, right? This one's different because I think the Kim Freeland kind of infield situation, that's going to be kind of like a baseball judgment call, right? You're not worried about like, oh God, like what is, the next guy coming in? What is he going to think? Are we going to lose players over this? Right? What will our sponsors, whatever considerations that are kind of off the field,
Sure.
don't like affect these other decisions. What's interesting kind of here is that, I mean, they can deny it all they want, but if Sasaki stays in this rotation, we're going to know that this was not purely a baseball decision, that there were other things at play here. And
all right. I mean, yeah. He's not.
I mean, you can't. No, you can't. Like, I'm sorry,
He's not doing worse than Emmett Sheehan right now, I would say.
I don't know, man. Again, but if you use the same logic that you did with Kim at the beginning of the season, right, which is that this guy is more than just like filler at the end of the roster, right? And I don't think they viewed Kim like that, and that's why they wanted him playing every day. And again, with Sasaki, and maybe I'm overly optimistic about this, but I'm still, what? He's still touched like 97, 98. Like, I still think that there's more in there, right? And I would at least want to see, whether or not there is, and look, like maybe, they could be concerned, right? He's going to, excuse me, you come from Japan and you're kind of moving, right? You go to Oklahoma City or like Tulsa or one of those types of places, and all of a sudden you're out of the big, you're not in a big market anymore. It's going to feel like really foreign, and maybe that crushes him. But excuse me. But if he can't recover from that, I'm not sure he's really made for this.
That was a great point. But my only question now is as you go on mute, did you catch the Dodgers sickness there? What's going on?
I think it's allergies. I don't know, man. My whole face has been, my eyes. I took some medication earlier to get juiced up for this thing, but I don't know. I guess like really bad post nasal drip right now. So I don't know.
Oh, I did have as I was discussing the sickness, the illness that has been going around in the Dodgers clubhouse the last couple weeks. One player pointed out, well, it started in Denver and it's cold and there's allergies and the batting cage there is really dusty. So that's that might have been the impetus for the Dodgers' recent struggles at the plate, a dusty batting cage.
I didn't go there, so I don't know what my excuse is. I did want to bring up the Dalton rushing. You had a very kind of you snuck in a nugget there into your story. The kick celebration. Would you want to explain how that came into existence?
Well, it's so as I'm sure fans have noticed, the Dodgers have started. They started Let me back up because these two storylines go together. Part of and this point came from Max Muncy. So during this series in St. Louis, it became clear that wow, most of the guys on the team have been sick the last couple weeks. One staff member estimated it's been 90% of the roster has been dealing with this thing that was going around. And while nobody wants to use it as an excuse, every team goes through stretches in a season where there's some sort of bug that goes around because it's a baseball team and they're around each other every day and flying across the country and whatever. You don't usually see teams have that happen and also are struggling at the plate. And what Max Muncy pointed out is that the problem beyond just everybody feeling bad is that when everybody feels bad, there's no joy, right? Like behind the scenes, there's no shenanigans in the clubhouse. Guys aren't having fun. You're trying to sneak in an extra nap. You're trying to conserve energy. And then if you're not hitting on top of that, it just creates a bad vibe. And baseball, even for teams as talented as the Dodgers, can be kind of like a vibe-driven thing during different parts of the year. And if the vibes aren't up, it can be tough to have success and snap out of a stretch where you have team-wide you're struggling at the plate. So this is what was really interesting to me about when on Sunday they broke out this new drop kick celebration, hit celebration thing every time they get on base, which I'm sure a lot of people will find stupid, but some fans love it, which means when I see a new one, I go down to the clubhouse and I put on my reporter's hat and I try to figure out where it came from. So in this instance, I had seen a clip from the night before when Dalton Rushing, God love him, he's been great for business this year, strikes out to end the game and is coming back into the dugout and I haven't seen exactly what he did. The camera shot doesn't show what exactly he did, but somehow his foot ends up, at least it seemed, concerningly close to Yoshinobu Yamamoto's face as Yamamoto's walking the one way through the dugout to go down the tunnel and Rushing's coming back down the stairs. The drop kick celebration may or may not have been inspired by that moment. The couple players I asked about it were all very coy. They all had suspiciously similar responses about how they are just trying to kick away the negativity. But what I will say is, as I talked to guys in the clubhouse about this the other night, it was laughter in every conversation where this came up. And that was on top of Max Muncy dragging Freddie Freeman out to talk to the reporters after the game on Sunday because they finally had a game where they won and some guys did some things and us as the reporters horde, we're going to go up to Muncy to try to get some quotes post game. He goes, no, Freddie's coming. I'll go get him. And he brings him out. Robleski had a funny little moment when we were asking him hey, did you realize you didn't strike anybody out? And he's like, I got to 2 strikes. I was trying to, they just kept putting it in play. And Emmett Sheehan, who was sitting nearby, was cracking up. And even today, Dave Roberts, in Houston said he walked in there and felt like things were rejuvenated. So I will say it was kind of cool that over the last couple of days, the team went from sick and struggling and no one really having fun to there's been some joy again. And Dalton Rushing's little moment of frustration may or may not have been the impetus for a key part of it. So,
you know what I love about it too? it's like it happens right after he tells you that he's gonna like stay out of trouble, right? And not that that was necessarily trouble, but it's kind of like
It was not trouble. No.
not trouble, but it's still like one of those things, right? Like he's one of those guys that, right? Just things just kind of happen around him, and I just think if you're one of those guys, you should just embrace it, because
Yeah.
you know what? The truth
Which
is,
he is.
there's
Like,
not
look,
enough personality in baseball, and you know what? I think the game is better for him being who he is, even if it means that fans and players on other teams don't like him.
yeah. And I will say, I would recommend people go read the story I wrote about him just to read his quotes on, because the latest thing was Nico Horner, saying he should have confronted Dalton Rushing for something he said about Miguel Amaya in a game last week against the Cubs. And his point, I thought the most telling quote was, I want people to hate playing against me because of who I am as a player, not because of the things I say, which is probably the right approach to take for a guy that wants to play with fire and edge, but also doesn't want to be known as a bad dude. So shout out to Dalton Rushing for once again giving us plenty to write about. We appreciate it, and he's continued to have a nice start to the season. And might be DHing tomorrow now. I guess we will see. But all right. We got to get to our predictions. Do we want to do why we hate your city? You skipped these two cities, which suggests that they aren't your favorite, St. Louis and Houston.
Yeah, I would say St. Louis is worse, right? I mean, that city is just really just kind of died.
I did have a better. This was my favorite trip to St. Louis. I didn't go in the middle of the summer, which helped. My room, I don't even think did I tell you about my room?
Oh yeah, you had like a pool table or
I had
something?
a pool table in my room.
Did you use it?
Marriott Rewards at the West End. I might have stumbled back into my room at a late hour one night and played a game of solo pool, which was really enjoyable.
Keep on the table?
Well, stripes won is how that game played out. But yeah, all I'll say about St. Louis, a St. Louis Houston road trip, is I'm glad it's happening the first week of May and not the first week of July, when it would be like 90% humidity and 90 degrees. So
Yeah, St. Louis is just not my cup of tea there. I got a funny story from there. I don't know. I'll leave it up to Ernest, our producer, whether or not he wants to cut this story. But years ago, I'm joining. There used to be this bar that no longer exists because everything in St. Louis has gone out of business. But so I'm joining. I'm a little bit late getting there, and I get there, and very well-known baseball writer. Everybody that watches this thing would probably know who this person is. And I'm walking in to meet him for a drink, and he's hanging out with this girl who's kind of built, and as I'm walking in, she's pouring like ice down her shirt, and I'm like, well, what's going on here, and then turns out she plays she's a roller derby player for the local roller derby team, whatever. And she starts telling me the story about how they once competed on a concrete track, and one of her teammates fell and basically tore all the skin off the back of her leg, taped it with electrical tape, and finished the match. And so I tell the famous baseball reporter, like, hey, man, you got to hear this story.
Unnamed reporter.
Unnamed reporter, Reporter X. And I tell him, you got to hear the story. She tells him the story, and he just tells her, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So they start jawing back and forth at each other. Next thing I know, she throws her drink in his face, left hook to the jaw. They start running around the bar like 2 laps, like full track and field style, until the security comes in, drags her out. She's screaming about how she's going to kill him. And, and then even though they throw her outside, she's like pacing back and forth. And my buddy's all scared now. And so I'm like, hey, well, it seems like she didn't hate me. So why don't you sneak out the back? Let me go distract her. Right. And and there was another guy that was there with us. And I was like, you guys sneak out the back. So Reporter X, though, made a mistake at the end of the night, which was to text me what happened. And there was kind of this like random baseball fan who was there with us. And I was like, well, remember that guy. Now, this part was not true, but I just fabricated this part of the story. And I tell him, like, well, that other guy told her who you were. And so she says she's going to be waiting for you outside of the stadium tomorrow with a bat. And so when we get to the stadium, he's looking all around.
You told reporter X that the scary roller derby lady was going to be looking for him at the media entrance to Busch Stadium the next day.
And around like the 7th or 8th inning of that game, this is during the playoffs, he comes over to me, he sits next to me, and he goes like, "Hey man, you think she's still gonna be waiting?" And at that point, I didn't have the heart to keep it going, so I just told him, "No, I was just messing with you." But every time I think about St. Louis, I can picture Reporter X being chased around the bar. He did about 2 laps around the bar, being chased by this roller derby star. Evidently, she even had like a nickname and stuff. But we'll keep that off here because I don't think we can afford any lawsuits at this point.
All right. Well, we can't reveal the identity of Reporter X, but I do want people to put your best guesses in the comments of who you think this would be. Please do. I will enjoy reading them, even though.
Yeah, I mean, I did drop a hit. The guy can run, kind of, right? It's like he's not that old, right? It's because I think a lot of the baseball writers.
I don't know if that's a helpful one.
Well, I mean, he's not a great athlete, but I'm just saying that there's some people that just would not, right? If it was, Plaschke, for example, Plaschke would have been hauled down from behind and taken down by the roller derby.
It was not APSC award winner Bill Plaschke.
APSC award winner Bill Plaschke. Yeah.
All right. Prediction time. For starters, last week's episode, we had the scores on the screen. I calculated them wrong. You had an extra point, and I had one fewer point than we thought. So we entered this week. You had 2 points. I had -3 because I'm apparently terrible at this, and it only got worse. So I said the Dodgers were going to score 10 runs in one of those games against the Cardinals. That not only did not happen, I don't even know if they scored 10 runs total in the series. No, they did not. So that's cool. Couldn't even get it directionally correct because they didn't get to 10 runs tonight against the terrible Astros pitching staff. So I'm at -4 points. Dylan said that his prediction started that Roki was going to get a win, but then it was going to be a win he could be proud of. But then he also mentioned that he was going to go 6 innings and 3 runs. I'm inclined to just say no, because you made like 4 different variations. You made 4 different variations of the prediction. Unfortunately, as the arbiter of this game, I didn't pin you down to one specific thing last week. So I will give you 1 point for being directionally correct on Roki going 6 innings and 3 runs, even though your prediction started with he's going to win and he got the loss.
It was a win in spirit.
No, it was not. It was actually a loss in reality, and and so uninspiring that you then called for him to be demoted to AAA right after, which I kind of almost want to argue with that point that you should just lose, because you said that he was going to do something he could be proud of, and he said he needs to go to OKC where his soul might be crushed.
Right. Where he could be even prouder. Where he could be even prouder.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take my loss on that one.
Okay, good.
I think he was gonna win. You know what? Because I
shamed you into taking a loss.
Because it was, you know what, the root of that prediction was me telling Cardinals fans that their team sucked and that it didn't matter who the Dodgers threw out there, that they were gonna that they could win that game no matter what. So they did not.
Sneaky good. Look out for the Cardinals. I like them. All right. So to update the scoreboard, you have 1 point, and I have -4.
All right. I feel good about that. Cool. I like that. All right. Cool. Can I make my prediction first?
Well, we got to do. Does Dylan know the Dodgers?
Oh, we're going to do that one first. Okay.
We're going to start with that.
Okay.
Dylan.
Yes.
Dodgers and the Astros. You might remember there was a pretty memorable World Series against them, 2017.
I was there.
How many? Well, that's why this is going to be important.
Oh boy!
How many players that played on one of those 2 teams in that season now play on one of those 2 teams this season? Can you name them? There are 6. If you get 5, I'll give it to you.
Oh God! Altuve.
1. I think he might be the only guy. No, there's 2 guys that have been with their teams the entire time since. been multiple guys who have either switched teams
Which okay.
and or
Teo
left and returned. Teo,
Uh,
correct. That is Teo.
Teoscar Hernandez.
Did not have to play. I mean, they did not have to participate in the World Series in that season. They just played on the team at some point. Teo played one game on the 2017.
I'm gonna say Tucker.
No, he was not up
He didn't
yet.
play. He was not up yet. I mean, that's what I got.
Two?
Am I gonna kick myself?
I mean, there's a really obvious one on the Dodgers. There's one player left. Well, there's one notable player left on the Dodgers that was part of the 2017 team that's still around.
17. God, that feels like forever ago.
I mean, it was 9 years.
Oh, Kike.
TK, all right, that's 3.
All right, I think that's all I got.
All right. Carlos Correa has since rejoined the Astros. Since
Oh, that's God, I just saw him today too. I just
Lance McCullers still with the Astros.
okay. I wouldn't have guessed.
And then the one I was trying to really trip you up on, Brock Stewart, was part of the 2017 Dodgers.
Oh, pretty good.
He's back and is going to be likely activated this week after having shoulder surgery last year. He's excited to get back. So you lose a point. You have I'm gonna call this. Should we call this Unk trivia? Unk trivia for me?
I don't know because I'm keeping it like relatively modern.
Yeah.
But okay. So our good friend, occasional bar companion, Oral Hershiser, in 1988 set the consecutive scoreless innings record, 59 innings. Which Dodger pitcher's record did he break? I'll give you 5 choices. Don Sutton, Don Drysdale, Don Newcomb, Sandy Koufax, or Johnny Padres?
I want to say it was either Drysdale or Padres. I'll say Drysdale.
Yeah, Drysdale.
Bang!
Okay, because that was like a pretty easy one. Although, like, maybe not for somebody a year.
Right. In what context would I ever know who was second on the...
I don't know. You cover the Dodgers? You talk to Oral all the time?
Well, he doesn't, like, dunk on Don Drysdale. Like, oh, I broke Don Drysdale's record.
You know what's cool about this record? If you go back and look at, like, these games, right? It was the last 4 innings of a complete game, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete 9-inning complete games, followed by, and he broke it in the 10th inning of the game after that. You know, so I've always kind of thought, you know, because every now and then we'll see guys.
I didn't know those details.
Yeah, you know, sometimes like we'll see guys kind of approach that, right? Maybe not get close, whatever, but they put together like an inning streak. I will not acknowledge that record unless they do it like 9 the way Hershiser did. So, but anyway, congratulations on getting one right finally.
I know. Look at me. -3 points. You're at 0. God, we are so good at this. It's going to be great when the winning score for this game this year is like -15. All right, let's try to be better. What's your prediction this week?
My prediction is that Shohei Ohtani will homer in Houston. Wait, is he going to play the last game?
He will.
Yeah, right? Whatever. Okay, he's gonna get a home run on Wednesday.
All right. That is a specific prediction that I respect, that we can judge easily.
Easy.
I'm gonna say he strikes out. How many batters would he need to strike out tomorrow for you to say it's cool? Like 8, 9? 10 feels like a lot.
10 feels like a lot.
9?
8.
8? All right, let's go with 8.
Okay.
8 strikeouts for Shohei Ohtani tomorrow, who, if he's not going to hit, might as well just go out there and, dominate as a pitcher. Yeah. All right. How do you feel about this series? Sweep?
Yeah, I do. I mean, honestly, I really do think,
the Astros are pretty bad.
Yeah, not only that, but I think the Dodgers pitching is pretty good, right? And whatever kind of first inning struggles Yamamoto seems to be having, right? It's so weird, right? Because usually guys kind of get worse the more hitters see them, and it's almost like the opposite with Yamamoto. It's like the more he sees the hitter, the more he knows where he'll attack and stuff, right? And kind of the boogeyman for him has kind of been the first inning, if anything. But again, I think this especially this top half of this rotation, I just think they're so good. It's hard for me to bet against any of those guys, and I think Glasnow is going to have a big one on Wednesday too.
All right. Well, we will see. We will be back recording later this week, I guess.
Yeah.
Trying to claw our way back to plus points in our prediction game as the Dodgers try to claw their way back from a couple lackluster weeks with back-to-back wins here.
And just real quick, I do want to acknowledge Bill Kaplan, the famous boxing publicist, huge Dodger fan. He and his family, they've been big Dodger fans. He passed away last week. He's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, very close with George Foreman. And, he would organize these lunch kind of with a bunch of old school writers that, he was very gracious enough to let me join every now and then. But, so to the Kaplan family, our condolences. He was very close to Tommy Lasorda, by the way, right? He was one of those guys in the 70s, early 80s. He was always in